Thank you for listening to this PodcastOne production. Now available on Apple Podcasts, PodcastOne, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
PodcastOne presents the Steve Austin Show Classics.
All right, sitting here talking with Ric Drasin. That's how you pronounce your name, right?
Yeah.
Dude, how long have we known each other? Forever.
Well, we first met at Gold's down Venice. I was with my son maybe 5-6 years ago.
Right.
And then I ran to the firehouse a couple of times. And then we did 2 AfterBuzz.
Right.
And here we are today.
And that's when you were hosting with Little Egypt, the AfterBuzz for SmackDown.
That's right.
Over
exactly.
there at the, with Maria
Menounos.
AfterBuzz, yeah.
Right.
God dang, dude. I was watching YouTube of some of, your history in wrestling.
Right.
Because, as I've always known you, you're basically a 70-year-old version of me. Good-looking dude, bald head, and a goatee.
People stop and say, "Are you Steve Austin?" I said, I don't know. I think I might be better looking, or maybe not.
He's aged a little bit, but we damn near look like twins. You're in incredible condition. But when I started watching some of the YouTube stuff, and there's not a whole lot of stuff on you in ring,
right.
But man, dude, I mean, you were jacked up, great physique, looked like a white meat baby face.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But back then, with Michael Bell and the NWA and the Olympic Auditorium, he would recycle his tapes. He had the big 2-inch reels, and he was so cheap that he would recycle them every week, so there's no history of anything down there. And then Channel 13, I believe, had a fire in their vault, and everything burned up.
I know, but I guess it's like when I kind of go back and look at some of my stuff, if you only saw me as Stone Cold Steve Austin, you never envisioned me with hair. So I've only known you as Ric Drasin, the guy with the bald head and the goatee. So that's what I just figured I'd see when I started going back in time.
I had hair in those, so you'll see.
I know. And we're sitting here in Ric's living room at his crib, and there's bodybuilding stuff all over the wall. Of course, you were born and raised in California. Started off down there in Bakersfield.
Yeah, I hate to remember that. I escaped under the barbed wire in 1969.
But dude, at a young age in junior high, you became interested in bodybuilding, powerlifting, weightlifting in general. What was it about that drew you in at such a young age?
This is really funny because I was a lead guitarist in a rock band in high school. I played the Hollywood Bowl. I won a Battle of Bands in Hollywood at the Palladium. Then I played Vegas, and I thought this was going to be my thing. And then I started. I was dating a girl that was a year older than me, and she was a homecoming queen. And I always seemed to get the good-looking women. I don't know why.
You're a good-looking kid.
So she got me into working out, and then all of a sudden my body started to grow. And this is before drugs or anything. It was just a lot of milk, 3 quarts a day.
Yeah.
And then she started saying, "You're getting too big." I said, "There's no such thing as too big. There's no such thing." My dad had been taking me to wrestling shows at Strongbow Stadium on Thursday nights when it was like the old school style, which I kind of liked, and I thought, I don't know if I'll ever do it, but it was fun. So one day on a Thursday, these guys come up to the Bakersfield to wrestle. I'm in the YMCA, and we're training, and 2 of them said, "You know what? You got a good body. You should get in the business." I wouldn't even know how. They said, "Well, Mae Young down in the Olympic will train you if you want to go down and visit."
This is WWE Hall of Famer Mae Young.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
oh yeah.
And I look back. She was a very attractive lady back in the day.
Yeah, we dated for quite a while.
No, I just mean, but I mean, people in the new WWE just know her as an older women's professional wrestler. But she was very, very pretty back in the day.
Very pretty.
But let me ask you this, dude. This is about 65, correct?
1965.
Okay. First of all, there weren't too many women to begin with in pro wrestling.
No.
And they certainly had a hard road to go down. But with it being such a male-dominated industry from its inception until now, in 65, the fact that a woman trained you, how did that weigh on your psyche? How did you hook up with Mae Young rather than just any guy that could teach you?
Because I don't really have a big ego at all. And to me, I don't care who trains me as long as I train. I had respect for her. She was a champion back then. And she was tough.
Oh, no doubt about her toughness.
I had to learn Japanese style, Mexican style, American style, shoot style. She said, "Their guy's going to stretch you out. You better learn how to shoot." And she worked me out hard. And so I respected that. And, back then in 65, I paid her for training for a while. She charged me $25 a class, which was 5 days a week, $125 a week. That's a lot of money.
How did you just fall in with her?
Well, I went down and I walked into the office and I said, I was sent down here to see about training. And she looked at me and she said, "You're a good-looking kid." She always has this little eye going, "Take your shirt off." And I was really ripped. And she said, "I can probably make some money with you."
Yeah.
So she called in Jules Strongbow and she called in Mr. Moto. And Buddy Austin was the top heel then. And Buddy was, it's one of those guys that I don't know if I ever want to work with him because I was going as a kid and he was brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, at least you thought he was brutal.
Yeah.
So they came in to meet me, and they said, "Well, give it a shot and work out." And so I had taken my mom with me. My dad had passed away, and she's waiting in the stands, and I come out with Matt Burns, and she says, "Are you ready to go home?" I said, "I got to come back tomorrow." "You got to be kidding. You're going to come back tomorrow?" I said, "Coming back." So I trained with her for 6-7 months. And then one night came along, they're going to use you on Channel 5 this Wednesday, and you're being booked with None other than Buddy Austin. No, I can't make it. Let's do something else. But, back in the day, you had to pay your dues like anything else. And he came in and he wanted to work out in this little makeshift ring she had upstairs, and he locked up with me so hard. Maybe you do this too. I don't know. I saw stars. I thought I was on black.
On a lockup?
On a lockup.
Yeah.
He hit me so hard. I like to lock up hard, and then I loosen up. And then he did, and he was fine. But I think they were just messing with me.
I like a good snug lockup, but I mean, if you're seeing stars after lockup, there's something wrong.
This was a head-on collision.
Yeah.
So, anyway, they booked me with him, and of course I did a job.
And working baby face, right?
Well, look at me.
Yeah.
What am I going to do, right?
Christ, here we go. And that's the guy without an ego.
Yeah. No, but I'm realistic. Come on, Steve. I look in the mirror every day and say, God, how did I get so good looking?
Yeah.
So, especially when I shave my head like you, there's no end to this now, right? Bald guys rule.
So how long did it take you to really catch on to the business and feel like you really had a sense of what was going on in the game as far as timing, high spots, psychology, and sell?
It took a while. It took a while because, you want to do everything you remember to do, and you can't do it all as you know, and you got to tell the story. And then I worked with a lot of older guys, like Fritz von Goring and Mr. Moto and Kenji Shibuya and Freddie Blassie, and they would keep me down a little bit. Listen to me and listen to this, and I go back and listen in the dressing room, and I finally started to get the hang of it. And I went to the South a little bit, and I went to Montreal, and I went around, and things started to figure in my head how it's supposed to be. Less is more.
Less is more.
It is more.
You had a career in the ring that lasted 37 years.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Started in 1965 and stopped off in about 2001, correct?
Yeah, but I had the ideal situation. I lived at the beach in Santa Monica on the water. I was training with Schwarzenegger and Draper and those guys, hanging out at Gold's, the original Gold's.
Right.
So we'd get up in the morning, Arnold picked me up, we go to Zucchi's Deli on 5th and Wilshire for breakfast, go to the gym, train, lay out in the sun for a while, go hit a commercial audition, wrestle at night, go to bed, get up in the morning, go to eat, go work out, lay in the beach, go wrestle at night, and it just rotated. And so, you're making cash at night, and then I'm getting unemployment during the day from the commercials I did, because back then, when you're in the film business as a bodybuilder or a wrestler, you're getting good jobs.
Right.
And you're making good money. Everything that's a national commercial is a national commercial. It's not, it's not an independent thing or low budget. There was no such thing.
Hanging out with Arnold, how did you guys meet and all of a sudden become training partners? Because you guys trained together for give or take 4 years.
I was training at Bill Pearl's gym, who was really my mentor at the time in Inglewood. And I was living in Torrance, working for Kellogg's cereal, selling cereal, which I did not want to do. So I quit the job, moved to Santa Monica, walked into the back door, ran into Arnold face to face. He introduced himself. He says, "What are you working today?" I said, "Probably going to do chest." He says, "Let's train together." So we would bench. I always could out-bench him. My best was like 455, and he was around 440, 430. And we just started hanging out and laughing and having fun. And every morning we'd meet. And I went on his first couple auditions for movies, and he said, "Come on with me." And when we get in the car, he says, "How did I do?" I said, "Forget acting. It's never going to happen."
Yeah.
But we did, he and I did
Arnold Schwarzenegger, acting's never going to happen.
Never going to happen.
You heard it here on the Steve Austin Show. Please continue.
But we did we got called out to do a Chevy commercial where we had to lift the Chevy in the air. It was he and I and a couple of other bodybuilders, and they cut our hair. And he was in the background, and a couple of us were in the foreground, and this car goes up in the air, and that's it. I hadn't seen that commercial in years, and somebody found it on YouTube and sent it to me 2 months ago.
Really?
And there it is, Heavy Chevy it's called. And that was our first taste of the business. And then from then he got an agent. I got an agent, and then I did, I think I did the FBI series as a gangster, and I screwed up those lines. Efren Zimbalist, I'm supposed to say it's occupied, standing by a bathroom, and I didn't know what to do in a rehearsal, and Zimbalist comes in, he says, "Excuse me." I said, "Sure, go on in." He says, "No, you're supposed to say it's occupied." I don't know. First time on a set, you know how that is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the training routine back in the day, training with Arnold? I mean, I know you guys laying down on the beach, doing your thing, tanning and wrestling at night, but what was your workout routine? Were you guys like one body part a week, hitting everything twice a week? What was the schedule?
It's the same thing I do today, I like it. I think it works really well. On a Monday, we do chest and back, come back in the afternoon, maybe do calves or something.
But chest in the morning, then back in the PM?
Chest and back together. In fact, it was set up in such a manner where you could do bench presses, and then right to the left of you was a chinning rack. So you could chin in between the bench presses. And then inclines, maybe supersetted with T-bar rows. And then cable crossovers, supersetted with one-arm rows. And working that, you're doing opposite muscle groups, so they complement each other. And so that worked out pretty well. And Tuesday was shoulders and arms, because they just fall in line. Wednesday was legs. Maybe Thursday was a day off, and then you pick up the same sequence again. So everything is basically twice a week.
And you're still training like that today?
Yeah, through a lot of pain.
But obviously with a lot lighter weights.
Yeah, a lot lighter weights.
Hey, back in the day, what was the scene like? Because that was kind of as one of your T-shirts, the one that you gave me a while back, the Golden Era Bodybuilding.
Yes.
When did the steroids really start to become popular in Los Angeles, or there at the original Gold's Gym, or at the Bill Pearl's place? And then, and then when did that bleed into professional wrestling as you knew it here in the California scene?
Well, in I believe it was 1962, I graduated from high school. I was training back then. I heard that Bill Pearl was taking something called Dianabol. And it wasn't illegal. I mean, you could get it from a doctor or whatever. And so I found a kid that worked. He was a delivery boy for a pharmacy. And I said, hey, give me a bottle of Dianabol off the shelf. And he did. And so I tried it. God, I blew up like a balloon. And that worked really, really well. And I was only doing like 2 pills a day.
Right.
So I started taking that. I never did any injectables for a long time. Then I switched to Winstrol and just played around with that. And then when I moved here to L.A. and I trained at Pearl's, Bill Pearl's brother Harold. Have you ever heard of Harold Pearl?
No.
He's twice the size of Bill.
Oh.
In and out of prisons a lot. Ran the gym. Really good guy. He sold me fat burners. He sold me needles. He sold me B12. And I said, how do you inject this? He said, you take a broomstick and you whack yourself in the thigh really hard and shove the needle in. And then when you pull it out, everything shoots into the air. And sure enough, it did. It was shooting right out. So I started using some Winstrol, and I think I took a little, back then it was Delatestrol, which is testosterone, Deca, or it was like an anthate. And then the Deca, of course, that was the most popular. And down at the beach, there wasn't a whole lot of really big drugs. There was Dianabol, testosterone, Deca, Winstrol, Anavar, and pretty much that was it.
Right.
And low dosages. There wasn't anything big. You do a shot a week and maybe 3 pills a day. And I always related that too when you're sick and you go to the doctor. He says, oh, you're going to get a penicillin shot, then take these pills, follow up for a week. So you get your booster shot and your pills follow through. Now you can get a booster shot today, and now you can follow out with a gel patch or something.
Right.
But it was big back then, not like today, of course. And then getting into wrestling, a lot of the guys were training. You had Rocky Johnson and Billy Graham and Silver Star and those guys. And at that time, I was doing a lot of shows writing with Graham, and he'd come sit on my sun deck in the afternoon. He was doing like 30 D-ball a day. Yeah. 30. My God. He said, why don't you just get a Dynaball sandwich and get a big tablet on a bun? And, he was huge. He was just enormous. But that's where it really came about. Then in the 80s, it became illegal. And I don't think it should be illegal. I mean, so what? If you want to have a big arm, so what? Who cares?
I think as a tool, they are what they are. You were pretty much a body guy your entire career then.
Yeah.
So any long-term adverse side effects from the years of using steroids? And I would probably add in here, you were not a guy, and it appears to me, and by everything that I've read about you and listened to you speak, never a guy that ever abused steroids. And I think there's obviously a very thick line.
Well, there's I have a book out right now called Wikipedia of Steroids, and
I just bought the ebook online the other day.
And it pretty much tells you what's
Great
going
job.
on.
It's a good
Thank you.
Book.
It's not to tell you to take them, but it's to tell you what to watch out for. And
it's education.
Yeah, it's education. I think anything in moderation works. I just heard 2 weeks ago that some guy died from 2 gallons of Gatorade and water, and his brain filled up.
Right.
That's water.
Or just someone just pounds a gallon of water, and it dilutes the chemistry of their blood, and
yes,
exactly.
That's
another way.
So in moderation is key to anything you do. I mean, I'll do a shot a week of testosterone, 200 milligrams, 250 milligrams. Yeah. I won't go more than that. I don't feel any need to. If I do, I just don't feel good. I feel lethargic. And I talk to guys today that are doing 1,000 a week, and then they're stacking it with 1,000 of 3 other things.
Right.
And I don't understand them. It doesn't seem to make any difference. They just get bloated.
Yeah.
So moderation.
But man, you've been around the scene for so long, especially with the old Golds, and now you still probably venture down to.
Oh, I go down there.
You go to Gold's Gym every now and then. But the scene,
just like you do.
Yeah, but I just live right around the block. I'm trying to get back in shape so I can make a comeback. But certainly some of the guys get caught up in the game.
Yeah,
and with the 1,000 milligrams, the excessive amounts, and then put in the GH on top of that and the insulin. Dude, I mean, what goes up must come down.
Exactly.
And so you can do that for a little bit. I kind of maybe would draw a parallel with that. I never went down that road, but with my drinking on the road, I was probably at a high level of drinking, whether these guys are at a high level of that, but you've been able to maintain your sanity, your health by
drinking like that, though. How do you keep your body fat down?
Oh, dude, I can't now. I'm trying to, as I called you the other day to set this podcast up, it was like, hey, man, we started talking about diet. So I'm still just sitting there trying to trim up these. No, it's about 6 ounces of red wine a night. But that was back in the day. I was just trying to, drawing a little parallel about the road I went down.
Right.
And talking about the steroids and stuff. Diet. We were talking about diet, and you've got another book out that you talk about that old bodybuilding diet, because, man, anytime somebody makes out a eating program for me, man, I'm weighing and measuring everything. And I know you guys didn't do that.
No, we didn't do that.
When it came down, because you competed in bodybuilding, when it came down to getting ready for a competition, y'all weren't using food scales.
No, not at all.
So, and Arnold was the master of it, because he's probably the greatest bodybuilder, in my opinion, that ever lived.
Arnold ate like I ate. We would go out and get cheese omelets with cottage cheese. And we make a joke about the cheese, and we call it cheese. We were just kidding with the waitresses, but 11 o'clock at night, we'd go down to Zucchi's Deli. Let's get a cheese omelet and cottage cheese. That's what you go to sleep on, because that's going to go back in your system.
But it was low carb then, right?
Yeah, it was low carb.
Yeah.
If you think about it, back in those days, there was no life cycles, treadmills, or Stairmasters, or any cardio equipment at all. Joe Gold didn't allow music in the gym. He didn't even allow water bottles. There were no water bottles. He had a drinking fountain with rust in it.
Right.
So basically, you didn't get any cardio unless you took a run on the beach for 10 minutes, and that was rare.
Right.
So basically, it's getting like 20, 30 grams of carbs a day, even if that.
Right.
And so, I have guys say, how'd you train? Where'd you get your energy? You got them from fats.
Right.
And it was a Real Blair concept, because Real Blair came out with this protein that you mixed with cream, and it was like a pudding, and it's based on fats. And so fats would give you energy to burn.
Right.
Carbs give you fat stored, and then you burn it. So you're storing more. If you're taking too many carbs, you're storing fat. You're not burning enough fat off.
Okay, back to the ring. Heel or babyface, which did you prefer? I'm guessing heel.
Well, doesn't everybody?
Yeah.
But,
I think so.
But think about it. With a face like this, Steve.
And remember, guys, I'm talking to someone without an ego, but he's into reality.
I didn't even put a mask on for a while. I couldn't breathe out of the damn thing. People just love the heel. You know that. They don't care if you're a heel or a face. If you're a heel, they still love you regardless. So I don't know. They're both the same to me. It's the same character. Just choose what you like if you don't like.
You were a good-looking white meat baby face, good body. All of a sudden, you put on the mask and you become the mask stomper.
Yes.
Who and what was the mask stomper?
I have no idea.
Put a mask on, stomp a mud hole in somebody, and walk it dry.
It's like trying to change your wardrobe on a Saturday night, So rather than dress in jeans, I wear like a tuxedo. And so I got an assortment of masks and played with them for a while.
Right.
And then my son was wrestling too, Shane, and he's a good-sized kid, and he'd work with me, and no one knew we were related. And then he ripped my mask off, and they said, oh, it's his dad.
Yeah.
Just have fun with stuff like that. And it's local shows,
How difficult is it to work under a hood, under a mask?
It's hard.
There's no facial.
No,
and what you've been used to.
No, and that's a good point, because I have a class out here on Saturdays, and I have masks I put on the guys to have them work. I say, you can't do any facial. You got to telegraph with your body, just like the guys that came up from Mexico with a mask. They knew how to telegraph with their body what was going on.
Right.
And I learned that right away. It's like a mime. So there's no facial expressions. You show pain in other ways.
Right.
Right?
Okay, speaking of miming or showing expressions, today in today's product, and I'm a big fan, but guys are overdoing it a little bit. They're either going way out there and overselling, or they're drastically underselling, just picking up after a major bump and throwing a guy into the ropes. But sometimes I just think they're trying to, it's almost like they're beating on a table. I'm selling. It's a little bit more subtleties to the art of selling than just a flat out, screaming I'm in pain. So sometimes I think in today's world, for some reason, they got those guys cranked up too much, telling the people who are watching the camera, and the camera's right there on them, I'm in pain, I'm in pain. You can dial it down a little bit. I can tell you're in pain. Sometimes when you force that sell, it becomes on the hokey side, and now you've taken me where I really want to believe and I'm buying into. I'm not there.
So we're not kayfabe now?
No. Well,
no, I'm kidding with you. I agree with you on all that, because I watch it once in a while. Very rarely do I watch anymore. And I don't see anybody really selling properly. They're selling for a second, and then they're right back going again. When I was trained with the guys like Blassie, you trained to sell and make it believable all the way out of the ring into the locker room. And it worked. And people come up and how's your leg? How's your leg? Oh, I don't know. I'm going to have to go to the hospital, I think. I know. I'm suing this leg for non-support, but I probably won't have a leg to stand on at the end of the day. But it's also like, It's also like acting, as you know well, because you've been acting. You're a good actor, by the way. I've seen your movies.
Yeah.
And I eat a lot of popcorn and enjoy them.
Yeah, thanks.
But that's selling in an audition. I go in for an audition, and they want me to be a bad guy. I don't want to be a bad guy. Look at me. I'm a romantic lead. Yeah. I'm trying to convince them this. And then they want me to scream my lines. When's the last time you ever heard Clint Eastwood scream a line? I watched them last night.
Yeah.
It's just in the face. It's in the eyes.
Yeah.
You don't have to scream a line to make your point. Just a look sometimes will do.
Right.
And it's the same thing in the ring. As far as I'm concerned, you don't have to go crazy. You don't have to scream at the audience and call them dirty names. I mean, that's the worst heat. That's cheap heat.
Right.
It's not necessary.
You've got we're sitting in your living room. There's a ring right outside, a 16 by 16 foot ring. How many students you got here these days?
I had 9 this morning. I have as many as 18.
So they come every single day?
Every Saturday.
Every Saturday.
I used to do Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, but I got busy doing other stuff. And I'm at an age now where it's like, I don't want the stress all the time. It's just fun on Saturday mornings. And the kids, the younger kids that come, they've learned a lot about respect and how to respect others and how to work with older guys and how to work on the mic and talk. And then they go back to school and their parents say, oh, my God, he did a public speaking project. He never did that before. Well, I taught him how to talk.
Right.
I think it's great for that.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
Yeah, it gives them self-esteem.
Yeah.
Gets them in shape for sure.
You broke in 65. You're the NWA Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
You're trained by Mae Young, WWE Hall of Famer. As you went through your career, as long as it was, who were your influences in regards to your in-ring style?
Oh, God. There were so many different people I liked. I mean, Pedro Morales I liked.
Right.
I thought that he was a good face.
Mm-hmm.
Buddy Austin as a heel, of course, I liked him a lot. Gordman and Goliath out of Mexico are great heels. Great to work with. Victor Rivera was a good face. I worked with him back in those days. Superstar Graham, of course. Vern Gagne was great. There's a lot of people there, and there's a lot of people that don't do a whole lot, but they do make their point. And then I went up to Oregon and worked in that territory up there, and I met some guys up there that were just really good guys, good to work with. You know, there's not any one person I say that really I mimicked. I've never had a hero in my life. People said, who's your hero? I said, I never had one. I just wanted to be the best me possible. And you take bits from this and bits from this, and then you just incorporate it into your life. It's like hosting these shows. I didn't know that I was going to be doing this 6 years ago, and all of a sudden it panned out. Now at 70 years old, it's my favorite thing to do.
Right.
It's fun. I love talking to people.
Okay, so then now this question isn't about your influences, but who did you like as far as styles workers? Just in regards to, I mean, were you a Ric Flair guy? Were you into his work, or a Steamboat guy, or a Bob Orton Jr. guy? Terry Funk, I mean, you worked with Terry Funk.
I worked with Terry a lot, and our birthdays are very similar.
But who were some of your favorite workers? Maybe didn't influence you in the ring, but who you held in a high regard?
Terry Funk for sure.
Right.
Terry and Dory Funk for sure.
Yeah, I didn't get into Dory until later on that I could really start appreciating what he was actually doing.
Right.
Because when I was a young kid in the business, I was young in the business, probably between 24 and 30. I was like, oh, man, this guy's slow and too methodical. I don't get it. Boy, now, I mean, that guy's like a god. What he was doing in the ring and telling those stories and how snug his work looked, one of the greatest.
If you watch those videos today, which I've seen when I had old school wrestling over at AfterBuzz, it was slow and methodical. It was almost to the point of boring.
But it was just so solid and believable.
Exactly.
And now, again, looking at it with the eyes that I look at it with now, a lot different than when I broke into business. Oh, yeah, man, he's born. No, man, he was very, very good.
Yeah, and you look at even the Japanese guys like Mr. Moto, who was the booker. I argued with him all the time about working. For some reason, we would always butt heads. But this guy knew how to work. You know, he threw the assault and he did the karate chops. You know, back then, for example, do you use chops?
Oh, man, I chopped a few times. Every now and then I throw some in there. Out of my entire career, man, not too many.
What's your feelings about chops?
I think they're a pain in the ass.
I think they're a waste of time.
They're a pain in the chest is what they are.
They're a pain in the chest.
Now, you know, if you want to elicit a response just by making a loud cracking noise, they are what they are. And Flair having somebody in the corner, it's certainly a showman aspect to the business.
Right.
But it teeters on the line of, okay, we're watching a pro wrestling match. Now, it's okay, it's well and good for a while in the corner, but when all of a sudden a guy just starts chopping a guy in the chest out of the blue, and maybe this is the big comeback time, it's just so far out in left field as to what logically would really work and apply at this time. Yeah. The last thing you'd want to use is a chop. Right. So, you know, and one time I was in a battle royal down in Tennessee, and Danny Davis, Nightmare Danny Davis, who was really good to me and taught me so much in the ring, I put him in a corner and I gave him 3 chops. You know, I thought I was really chopping the hell out of him. I said, all right, spin me around and chop me. So, of course, you know, and Danny was a senior guy.
Yeah.
Well, he gladly spun me around and started chopping the hell out of me. And I peeled out of there and I got thrown over the top rope. And I left, I went back to the dressing room, and there was Danny's locker over there, and I wrote a note. And I put, F you and your chops. And so when finally Danny came in the dressing room, I was watching him. He picked up the notes, and he says, actually, this is my family-friendly show, so you know what the FU stood for.
Right.
And he started laughing, and he looked over at me. I always got along good with him. But no, I was working with Brian Pillman down here in Florida one time, and Pillman loved to chop. And I started kind of turning my body on those chops, and he called me out on it. He goes, Steve, if you're going to turn those chops, he goes, I won't even do them because they don't look good.
Right.
And I was like, you're right. I was being a puss, so I started taking them, you know, straight up like I was supposed to. But I'm long-winded about the chop. They're not really worth a damn. They are what they are. What are your feelings?
Well, I don't think they mean anything because most of the guys just slap right here. You know, They slap it on the shoulder or the chest, and it's okay. It makes noise, but a real good chop is usually used by the Asians, the Japanese, when they come over and they throw a chop right into the Adam's apple, and they do it this way, karate up here, and a lot of guys that throw the Alka-Seltzer in their mouth, you know, and start foaming. Well, that to me as a young kid was believable. I said, this guy's like going to vomit. He got hit so many times in the throat.
looking at it almost like an uppercut with the tips of the finger under the throat. So the listeners can kind of get a visual.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of an underhanded tactic, but just the chop in and of itself.
No,
not a big fan.
I'm not a believer of that. I like a good form rather than most guys don't know how to punch.
Well, you know, a great working punch. You've got to really work on to perfect one. What's going on right now? There's just been this gigantic movement in the European uppercut. Right now, the European uppercut is just done by everybody, and I'm like sick of them. Great, highly effective. Loved when Steve Rigo, my old travel partner, started laying them in. And, you know, Cesaro, who's a Swiss guy, I mean, that would lend itself to his character. But now everybody's doing a European uppercut. And I'm like, man, doesn't anybody throw a punch anymore?
I know.
I mean, and to that point, I mean, your babyface shouldn't be punching to begin with until it's time to break the rules and go to the closed fist because the referee should be enforcing the rules.
But when I was wrestling, you had to be licensed through the Athletic Commission.
Yeah, and I've seen some of your pictures of your old wrestling licenses.
Right, and that's kind of weird because nowadays you don't really have to be.
Yeah.
And so they had a guy at ringside. If you punched, you were disqualified.
Really?
If you went over the top rope, you were disqualified. So punches were very sparingly used, and a referee would warn you. And if you did it again, he would disqualify you. And I like that better because then it means something.
Right. Well, where were y'all wrestling? Where were the houses over here? What was it, Olympic Auditorium?
Olympic Auditorium on Wednesdays and Fridays. Wednesday was TV, Friday was a big show, and then Monday night you had Ventura, Tuesday night San Diego, Thursday night Bakersfield, Saturday could be San Bernardino, and Sunday was like just a random show wherever.
Man, that sounds like a great loop.
It was a good loop. It wasn't far. You're home every night by midnight, and you can get up and go to the gym and lay on the beach and go out again around 4 or 5 o'clock. And locally, of course, at the Olympic, it was right down the street. It's like 20 minutes away.
I filmed a commercial there for some AT&T, whoever it was, back in the day, a wrestling commercial there. I always wanted to work in there, and with a packed, house. Never got a chance to. I've got some here I'm going to show you. I got this off a computer. It's a check from the Olympic Boxing and Wrestling Club.
For $500?
$500.
Yeah, I still got that check.
Made out to main event winner.
Yep.
$500. Did you ever cash it?
It's in my drawer.
Did you cash it?
No.
You just wanted to check?
Take a look at the check. Why you can't cash it?
Oh. Why? Just because it says main event winner?
No, there's no bank numbers on it.
Oh, is this a gimmick?
But it's signed by Mike LaBelle.
Really?
And so they gave it to me one night, and I'm supposed to turn it back in.
Yeah.
I threw it in my bag and took it home. I've had it ever since, and I told Gene LaBelle about it. He said, that's nostalgia, because he and I just did a documentary about the Olympic Auditorium.
Yeah, Gene?
Yeah. He called me, can he come down and do an interview? We're going to interview you and me about the old days, all of our buddies. And I said, sure. And I brought the check, and we took a picture. They're going to use it in the documentary because it's a collector's piece. It's probably worth like $3 now. It's not worth the paper. But
hey, I'm talking to one of the best-looking men in the whole city of Los Angeles,
yes.
Ric Drasin. I'm coming right back after a word from our sponsors.
You're listening to another classic episode of The Steve Austin Show, only on PodcastOne.
Hey, man, do you own or rent your home? Sure you do, and I bet it can be hard work. You know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
All right, here we go. Talking to a guy who's into reality. And the reality is that he's a good-looking dude. Rick.
Yes.
You brought up, right before we went to a break, you brought up a Mike LaBelle name, and Gene LaBelle.
Yes.
Obviously, Mike, more on the promotion end, correct?
Yes.
And Gene, anybody that knows anything about, Hollywood, wrestling, stunts, tough guys in general, everybody knows that Gene LaBelle was one of the baddest human beings walking the face of the earth.
At 82, he still is.
He still is.
Yeah.
And
he
a lot of times,
basically lives about 6 blocks away.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
I tried to get him to do a podcast a while back, and he gave me the the old duck routine. Yeah. But I'm a huge fan. I met him at a little Honda dealership a couple of years ago when I bought my little scooter because Gene used to ride their bikes.
Right.
So anyway, and you can still see Gene every time Ronda Rousey goes out to the octagon in the UFC to open up a can of whoop ass and do her thing. Gene LaBelle is, part of her. He was a big influence on her and probably, helped her out with her training. But you got any good Gene LaBelle stories?
Yeah, I do. I have a lot of good Gene LaBelle stories. Gene, first of all, was one of the first guys I worked with in 1965, and he wrestled as the Hangman. And he and I and Jack Armstrong were very good friends. Jack, you know Jack.
Yeah.
Well, we all kind of hung out. We're just good.
How's Jack doing?
Jack had both knees replaced.
Yeah.
I'm getting mine done in November.
No, I want to get yours in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, Tim and
Well,
Gene
you do
LaBelle
it for
story.
Anyway,
performance surgery.
We all know the story about Gene LaBelle and Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
Should I say it?
Yeah, you might as well because he can't talk about it, but you can.
Right. Well, I've done a lot of stunt work, and Gene would call me in when he says, "I need someone, a good-looking guy, I need you to do a stunt."
I swear we're both straight.
Oh, listen! They had me do the Fall Guy as Handsome Harry, the only wrestler with an all-female fan club.
Really?
And Gene choreographed it. So we tease about stuff like that. But he did. He choked out Steven Seagal on the set and made him pee in his pants in front of 11 stunt guys, and it's validated.
Yeah.
I mean, he actually did it, and Gene chokes out everybody.
Yeah,
he's never got me yet. I won't let him.
I was at the Cauliflower Alley Club a couple of years back, and got a chance to finally meet Gene. And I started talking to him, and he's the nicest guy in the world.
Wonderful.
And we just started talking. Of course, I just had to say, Gene, can you tell me the Steve Seagal story? And he goes, no, by law, I can't tell the story because it's, what do you call it, the gag order.
Oh.
Yeah, so basically.
It's called kayfabe.
Yeah, it is. Basically, the story's kayfabe. There's a legal, basically a gag order. So when I asked Gene if he could tell me the story, he goes, no, I can't talk about it. And his wife was standing right there, and she goes, but I can. And she told me the whole story. So I just love hearing it again.
Yeah.
Dude, what was it about that guy that made him so damn tough?
He's just a strong man. I mean, he knows pressure points. He'll grab your forearm and squeeze, and he'll go right down to the ground. He just knows how to get you down and hold you down there. But when you say he's a nice guy, when I needed something, I had a Honda too, and I said I need something done. He took time out and met me down at North Hollywood Honda and made sure I got exactly what I wanted. Left his house and met me. I needed something on the computer. Meet me over here. I have a computer guy for you. That's the kind of guy he is. Another
guy who's he's almost at your age bracket is
30?
Steve Strong.
Oh, yeah, Steve. I know Steve real well.
Did you guys ever make any rounds together? You guys work together?
Steve used to come over here. After I had done the Gold's Gym logo T-shirt, I started printing my own designs for Joe Weider in the magazines. And then Steve was doing some designs. He had no money, and he had no way of printing shirts. And I built myself a print shop in my garage, screen printing. So he came over here, and I let him use it. So because of that, he gave me 2 oil paintings. He's an unbelievable artist.
Unbelievable. Yeah, he painted
one of the best
as well.
One of the best. And we just were friends, and we did some shows together. I did a Channel 54 with him in the ring.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in a long time, but great guy.
Well, man, you brought up the artwork, and I wanted to get to that as well. You brought up the artwork, and I wanted to get to that as well. When you were in college in Bakersfield, 2 years of college, but you studied in art, correct?
I did, yeah. I hated school.
Yeah.
I hated it. So I took ceramics, and I took photography, and I took art.
But the thing I'm getting to is anybody out there that's ever seen the original Gold's Gym logo, the muscle man holding the barbell that's bent, bald-headed dude, kind of looks like me without the goatee, you drew that design.
I did.
You also created the World Gym logo of the Earth with the gorilla on the top. You created that logo.
I did 3 years
How in the flying hell did you just crank out 2 of the most iconic logos of all time for 2 of the most famous franchises of all time, Gold's Gym and World Gym?
God, I don't know.
Just lucky. I mean,
so wonderful. I was at Zookie's Deli. I was with Arnold and a guy named Ken Waller. Remember Ken Waller?
Oh, yeah.
And Ken was managing
He stole, what's his name's T-shirt, his Crusher.
Yeah, he did. So he said, hey, Rick, can you draw me up a logo for a T-shirt? The gyms don't have any logos. And I had been doing T-shirts in Bakersfield when I was a kid. So I sat it on a napkin, and I drew this little ball-headed guy. He says, "That's it, let's take it." So we took it down to Ace Trophy in Venice, and they printed up a couple of dozen, and then they started to sell, so they printed a few more, and it became the logo. But I also did a front and back design on a tank top, 12 tank tops, and I have the only original tank top. The rest of them, I don't know where they went.
Right.
That's collector's item. So Joe Gold at that time had sold his gym, and he sold his name, and he wanted to come back. He was a merchant marine, opened up another gym. So he opened up World Gym, owner Joe Gold, and he said, "Rick, I need a logo." I said, "What do you want?" He said, "An animal." I said, "A picture of me?" He said, "No, an animal." So I'm going to go on. It's never going to stop, right? So he said, "How about a gorilla?" And I drew a couple of different forms of the gorilla, and he said, "That's it." And it became another big logo. I mean, the goal is probably one of the largest in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But dude, so what do you draw these days? Do you still do art?
I draw self-portraits. No, I don't draw like I used to because I got into graphics on the computer with Photoshop.
Right.
So I'll draw in Photoshop because I can do airbrushing. And I got into airbrushing, and I got into doing tattooing for 8 years. Right here in this room, I was doing tattooing. But I designed some shirts like the Golden Era of Bodybuilding. Yep. I have another one that says, "Don't bug me when I'm training." That I
like
did way
that
back
one.
then. I do too.
There's a green one you did on one of your websites. Just kind of a creature-looking guy, just a jacked-up dude with kind of a scary look. You'll recognize it. I'll pull it up before you. I want you to design me a T-shirt, will you?
I don't know, Steve. I'm a very busy
No,
man.
I got you right now. You're under pressure. Millions of people around the world listen to this podcast, and Ric Drasin. There's just no way you can tell Stone Cold Steve Austin. No, I'm not going to draw you.
Can I have my name on it? Designed
by? Yeah, you can put a name on the bottom right.
By the guy who
by
the guy who designed the famous Gold's Gym T-shirt.
I'm just going to pimp you out for a damn T-shirt and not give you any credit. Come on, man. We come from the same
yes, we do.
lifeline here.
Yes, we do.
Traveling down the road, you mentioned the loop. Give me that loop one more time.
Yes, it was Monday night was Ventura, I believe, and that changed from time to time.
And from here, that's about what?
It's 60 minutes.
Okay,
if that.
With no traffic.
Well, it's 101 now. It's traffic. Right. Tuesday night was San Diego. That's the longest haul. $120, $130. Yeah, and then Wednesday night was the Olympic Auditorium, and so I lived in Santa Monica. That's 15 minutes.
Yep.
Thursday night was Bakersfield. That was kind of an hour and 20.
Okay.
And it's a boring drive. But it's a wonderful town, don't you think?
Yeah, dude, we were talking about that. One of my best friends is from Bakersfield. His name is Rick. You'll love him.
I stayed there for a week one night. And so, and then we're Thursday, right? Friday night was the Olympic Auditorium again. Yeah. Saturday night was, or Saturday afternoon was Channel 13. Saturday night was, I believe it was San Bernardino. Okay,
pretty short haul there, but who were you mixing with? Who were you traveling with up and down the roads? What were you guys traveling in?
Oh, we had a U-Haul. No, you mean did we travel in?
Yeah,
I took my car.
But okay, did you load up a bunch of guys? Did you travel solo?
Very antisocial.
Really?
Yeah, I like to be alone a lot.
I got a long cord. You can go in the other room. We can still continue this.
No, I mean I rode with Jack Armstrong. I rode with anybody who wanted to ride. We'd ride. I rode with Billy Graham when he'd go. He didn't like me to sleep in the car.
Dude, you slept in the car.
Coming back one day, I fell asleep, and he had this big Cadillac with a big armrest, right?
Yeah.
So he's eating peanuts and laughing, and I'm dozing off, and he hits his hand across that leather thing, and he goes, so we had a flat tire, and I jumped out. He says, "Don't be sleeping."
You can't sleep in a car, dude.
Oh, I know that. When I was in Portland, Oregon, I was teamed up with Snuka as a tag partner, and Dutch Savage would ride with us. And we'd ride up in there, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. All of a sudden, I hear a bang, and Dutch is shooting deer out the window of the car as we're going along at 2 o'clock in the morning. These guys are nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of hijinks back in the day, ribs, everybody pretty straight? Or
yeah, there's always ribs in the dressing room. You know how that goes. Someone's always doing something, but it was fun.
I was always down with ribs. Ribs are, they're fun to watch as long as it's not a mean-spirited rib.
Yeah.
And, before I came into the territory, there was a lot of guys, if someone was wearing jeans and the guys would tie, just a one knot in a leg and, get a guy on each end of it pulling it, and that puts a hell of a damn knot in that leg of those pants, and it sounds like, you just untie it, but no. So, as Lee Corso, my college game day friend, would say, "Not so fast, my friend. It doesn't happen like that." Were you a big ribber?
No.
Were you one that liked to be ribbed?
I could go along with it. I didn't care.
Were you a fighter? Did you ever have to settle something in the dressing room, which happened out in the ring?
Never had a problem with people. You can pick the nastiest
You just said
guy.
you're antisocial. You
got
to make up your mind.
I'm kidding. I get along with anybody. I don't have problems with people.
Right.
I don't let things bother me like that.
Okay, the infamous potato sessions that sometimes happen in the ring. I was always a guy who was very, very lenient. I'll take my lumps. I worked a little bit on the snug style anyway. Yeah. Not strong style, as they would say.
I heard you were like really stiff and horrible.
Yeah, that was me. But God dang, we made some money. I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again because I love telling it so much. I was working over there back in the day. We'd go to Germany for about a week. Yeah. Be on 2 different tour buses, Hills Babies. Then we'd go to England, work for about a week. So it's 2 weeks over there in UK and Germany. And, you know, after all that time on the road, doing all those shots, and we were really drinking heavy over there. Yeah. And they always kept the bars open for us. And so I was working with big boss man, Ray Traylor, who was an absolute sweetheart. And, you know, Big Ray was 6'6", 6'7", 320 pounds, and had a quick left hand. And, man, he was having a rough day at the office, and he was working with me, and I was white hot at the time. And he kept teeing off on me and hit me with about 6 live rounds. And old Earl Hebner was always my referee back then, a hell of a damn referee, and I loved working with him. And he was looking at me. He kind of had this little shit-eating grin on his face. He knew something was going to happen sooner or later. I was very patient. So finally I said, all right, I've had about enough of this. So I grabbed old Big Ray by his arm, slung him in the ropes. I said, watch the clothesline. And here he comes running back with, you know, just straight up and down. He's a big, tall guy. Yeah. And he was expecting that clothesline. He expected me to hit him about right there underneath his throat in a safe spot above his chest plate. Yeah. And that's not what I hit him with. I balled up my hand and hit him just vertical, just like this. I'm holding my arm up vertical. Hit him right there on the bridge of his nose, up and down his face. Poor Big Ray went down to his knees like a shot. You could hear it all across the arena. And it was like a cartoon on Saturday morning. He was just on his knees looking up at me. And, you know, him looking up, he's almost as tall as me on my feet. And he just had this little smile on his face. And he goes, okay, he got it. He'd hit me with too many live rounds. Yeah. It was time to fire one off the cannon, and I did.
And you never warned him?
No. He'd teed off me on enough. So it was the shot that settled him down. But we always had a great time anyway.
Yeah, but you would get that out of the guys in Mexico that come in the mask when I was down at the Olympic because they didn't speak English.
Right.
And you had to work on the right because they worked on the right and we worked on the left, right?
How was that?
Confusing.
Yeah.
It's like driving in England.
Yeah.
Right? I even sat on the other side of the car on the way home, make sure I could get used to driving like this. But they would potato you, and then you finally said no more, and they didn't understand. So I grabbed one guy's mask in between the thing like this, and I let him have it really hard right in the head. His eyes just kind of went like this. And it never happened again.
Okay, here's the thing. Did you ever go to Mexico and work?
No, I can't speak Spanish.
Okay, you didn't go to Mexico and work, but those guys were here, and they spoke only Spanish and not English.
What Mike LaBelle did, he found out that the Latins was his audience. And this is back in the 80s. And so he brought everybody there and put everybody over. And then we ended up doing jobs with all these guys. Right. But I liked them. They were good guys to work with, you know.
Yeah, but my point is this. Yeah. Okay, so you guys in the back, I mean, you know, when I broke in, and certainly way after you broke in, and the business was really kayfabe in your days, so how you guys setting up a match where you got no communication? It's one thing for you and I to know the finish if we're on a different page as far as language goes, but as far as working that match, how y'all laying that out?
Well, it's just like we did today. You came in and we just called it as we went. We didn't have anything planned for this interview.
Right.
See? So it's the same thing when I tell the guys in the ring, use your instinct. Tell a story, have a good beginning, good middle, good ending. Well, I knew with those guys, they knew how to tell a story, and I kind of went with what I felt I had to do. If they were going to heel on me, I'd let them, and I'd come back a little bit, and then I'd let them heal, and I'd come back a little bit. Then I'd do a big comeback, and I'd let them heal again, and then I basically knew where the finish was going to go. But, you know, back then you had two separate dressing rooms. You had the heels and the faces. And nobody knew. You don't even know who you're working with. You see the board, El Luchador from Salvador. Blah, 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 blah. What? Who's that? And then the referee says, what's the finish? I don't know. Ask him.
Yeah. But, you know, that was the fun thing, like in Nashville at the fairgrounds. That was a setup. Just two, you know, the dressing rooms on. The building was rectangular. There was a dressing room on each side, opposite ends. So, you know, Frank Morrell, the referee, come over, and I just come into territory. I've been working 2 months. A greener and grass wasn't worth nothing. Athletic, but that's it.
And you had hair.
You know, green is green, dude. Yeah. Green is confused.
With blonde hair.
With blonde hair. A good-looking kid. Yeah. Blue eyes from Texas, jacked up.
Just like
football
me, right?
player, yeah.
We looked alike back then,
I was probably a little bit better looking than you.
I don't know about that. No.
So anyway, there I was. But my point is, when you just get a finish, and that's all you've got to know is the finish, and you go out there and create the rest, it's so much easier and so refreshing because you call it as you go.
I love it.
You do something, Rick, as you know, to elicit a response. Based on that response, you proceed accordingly. Right. And that dictates your match.
Yes.
So, you know, if they're not buying something, you change gears and go a different direction. You know, Don't want a whole lot of heat. We don't got to get none. Just want to see a big shine. There was a part of my career when I really started getting white hot as Stone Cold. They didn't want to see me sell. They just wanted to see me come out there, do some stuff, Stone Cold offense, flip somebody off, hit them with a stunner, bam. They weren't interested in seeing me get beat up or anybody get any heat on me. That's what they wanted to see, so that's what we gave them.
Exactly.
Until, we finally got a chance to shift gears and start telling different stories.
Right. It's kind of like, and I like stand-up comedy a lot. I mean, I'd like, maybe that'd be
You're
my
a funny
next,
guy. I've been laughing my ass off since I've been here. This old good-looking thing and into reality. As he scratches his back.
It's something I like to go into, I think. It's something I'd really like to do, and I've been prompted for years to do it, and I haven't. But it's kind of like the same thing, because if you're going to go in the ring, you're going to tell a story, you let it unfold as you go. You can't plan things out. What if you miss 2 spots and the other guy gets lost? Well, where do we go from here? You got to know where it's going to go. It's the same thing with stand-up. If you're going to get up and talk to a crowd, you can have a certain routine, but you got to know what if they're not getting it, right?
Right.
You got to switch it around so they do get it, and it's the same sort of thing. I do. Yes, I'm going to do it. Say it right in front of Steve Austin right now.
Okay, so when are you going to make your debut?
Probably next year, after I get my new knee replaced.
Yeah.
Because I can't stand up right now.
I'm glad you brought that up. There's a picture of you. If you Google Ric Drasin in your computer and it goes to the Wikipedia page, RICDRASIN.
Yeah.
When your Wikipedia comes up, there's a picture of you with a bunch of damn little point marks of all the injuries that you've had.
Yes.
And you've had probably, it seems, about 6 gallons of cortisol.
I have
cortisone.
I have an IV drip in my bedroom.
Yeah. Dude, how are you feeling?
Horrible.
Okay, when are you going to get the knee replaced?
I hope November.
Okay, what's it doing? Just bone on bone?
It's not only bone on bone. If I have an x-ray, it's shifted like this.
Right.
So it's sitting off center. So I'm like a one-legged cowboy when I walk,
Yep.
And if I do stand-up, I'd have to stand on one leg, and I get tired and have to sit down and do sit-down comedy.
Sit down.
But in the meantime, I mean, it's something I've been putting off for about 10 years.
Right.
And I don't like to make that initial step to say, okay, I'm going tomorrow, but I wish I could have gone last week.
Right.
And get it behind me.
What about the shoulders?
They're thrashed. There's nothing I can do.
So what are you doing when you do go to the gym? I mean, because you're in still real good shape. I mean, physically, like I said, I don't know how you feel, but you still look good. So what are you able to do when you go to the gym? Because you've got a YouTube channel. What's the name of your YouTube channel?
Ric's Corner.
Ric's Corner. Now, you talk to a lot of people from the world of bodybuilding, professional wrestling, powerlifting, and you also do some tutorials of you working out in the gym.
I do.
So you're a teacher.
I am.
When you go train, how's your body?
I can do almost everything. I don't do heavy benches anymore. I don't do many dumbbells because my shoulders sound like celery cracking all the way through.
Right.
But today you got the hammer machine, Cybex. You've got certain machines you can do to emulate free weights.
Right.
And I'm a real visual person, so if I put in my head, for example, the hammer machine is like this. You put the weights on, you can press. In my mind, I visualize I've got dumbbells going.
Right.
It's the same. You're working the same muscle the same way.
Right.
So basically, you're using a machine, but you feel like you're using the dumbbells, and so that works for me. Curls aren't what they used to be. I used to curl the 65s. I do 25s, 30s now. I have a ripped tricep. I never got it reattached.
Right.
Arm's a little funky.
Yeah, man, I got this one reattached, and I got that calcium in there, so I can't straighten it out any further than that. So, like, if you and I are go to dinner and it was time for the check, you would reach further and hopefully be able to get the check before me.
If this was the check and we were eating,
yes,
during the dinner, I'd probably keep going like this.
Yeah, you're one of those guys. Hey, you ever travel with the guys, when you're going up down the road, you pull over to a diner or it's a Denny's or a Waffle House or wherever it's at, and the guys all of a sudden start getting alligator arms, what we call it. Never want to reach for a check. I always get I'll reach for my share of checks.
You want to hear an old school story about wrestling?
Love one.
Two guys one guy goes into the restaurant. It's a nice diner, and he's starting to order food. The other buddy's outside. He comes in, and he sees him, and he says, that looks pretty good. What do you have? And he says, I'm having a little salad. He says, I don't have any money. He says, sit down here. I'll buy you a dinner. And so the waitress comes. She says, this guy just walked in. He doesn't have any money. Buy him a salad. So she brings him a salad. He says, it's a nice-looking steak. Bring him a steak. This goes on through the meal. Finally comes down to the dessert, and he says, Jesus Christ, you got to have everything? He says, I'm hungry. He says, I'll pay you back one day. So he brings the dessert, and then he finally says, well, I got to run. He said, when you got to run? They get this big fight. And he chases them out the door, and they run around, get in the car, and they leave. No one paid the check. So this is an old joke these guys used to pull.
You're listening to another classic episode of The Steve Austin Show, only on PodcastOne.
What's better than courtside seats? Free sports on Pluto TV. Hey, sports fans, get all your sports free on Pluto TV. Pluto TV is your home for sports. Watch 24/7 channels of MLB, MLS, MMA, sports news and analysis, plus documentaries, TV shows, and movies, all for free. No signups, no fees, no contracts, ever. Download the free Pluto TV app on any device.
I'll change the name of this story to Morgan, to protect the innocent. There was a guy who was very notorious back in the day for going down the road and stopping at a steakhouse, wherever it was, and eat. Okay, if you had an 8-ounce steak, eat 7 1/4 ounces, and then call the waiter over that last 3/4 of an ounce. Say, this steak is just a little off. Could you take this maybe off my check? And, that would always be his M.O. Finally came a time when he doubled back and did the same routine, and the waiter called him on it, and I'll change the guy's name to Morgan. Yeah. He goes, Mr. Morgan, you did that last time you were here, sir. And then he finally, after all these shenanigans, got busted. It was a pretty good little payoff.
I did that by
accident.
You're
pointing at yourself.
I did that one night. Yeah, I did that one night at a seafood brother. They brought me a fish, and the manager came over and said, "How's the fish?" I said, "It's okay." He says, "It looks like it has a lot of belly fat down there." I said, "I won't eat that. It's fatty." And he says, "I'll bring you a whole nother dinner." He says, "Oh, no, you don't have to." And I was really hungry. And I said, "Okay, I'll take it." So they brought me another one. And then I went in there one night, and I ordered the dinner again, and all of a sudden I see all this smoke behind the glass, and I hope that's not my dinner. The guy comes out, and he says, "I'm sorry, sir, but your dinner just caught on fire, burn up." But I had that happen a few times. Or we'll go out, and we'll always say it's our birthday, and we'll get a free dessert. I have birthdays every night, every weekend. That's why the belly fat.
Belly fat?
Yeah.
You don't need cardio?
This is it.
run in your mouth is cardio.
I'm burning cardio just talking. I'm burning body fat.
Give me a superstar Billy Graham story. That guy, I'll sit in bed. My wake up process is a gallon of coffee. I get up before my wife, and I go in there and I make a cup of coffee. I come back and I slowly sip that one, and then on my second cup of coffee, that's when I'll bring her a cup of coffee, and that's at 7:30. And I'll be sitting there watching, and I'll always go back to this one Billy Graham video of him in Madison Square Garden. Vince McMahon is conducting an interview, and superstars going off about swimming 19 miles, work out 5 hours a day, swim across the Atlantic Ocean, all that other stuff. I mean, he didn't miss a beat. It's one of my favorite promos of all time, and he's one of my favorite promo guys. And he was 20 years ahead of his time.
Sure.
Any unique stories about that guy in a positive light?
Everything about him, for me, is positive. I just love the guy. He was the greatest guy in the world, and he'd come down to Gold's and train, and we'd all go to lunch, and he just always had a smile and a laugh, just always in a good mood.
Really?
Always in a good mood. And he was just huge. I mean, even Arnold looked at him, he said, he's bigger than Arnold. He had this bicep, but he was doing a lot of D-ball and all that.
Yeah.
And then he wanted to start a promotion with me, and at the time I was married to my first wife. He wanted to put her name down as a promoter, because a wrester and a promoter can't have the same license. You have to have a promoter's license and a wrestling license, and you can't promote. So he and I and the guy with the beard that he hung out with, I can't think of his name, Ivan Koloff.
Yeah.
We were all going to do it together. They'd come over to my house every day and sit out in the patio, and we'd plan this thing out, maybe doing it in Bakersfield. And then they took off, and so I ended up promoting in Bakersfield. And I did a couple of shows up there. But, back then with the commission, and you had Eileen Eaton owning the Olympic, they would stop you and they'd block you.
That's one of the things I was going to ask you, because it was give or take about 78 when you started promoting.
Yeah.
And then you got pressure, immediate competition from NWA.
You've got pretty good memory for a man of your years.
Well, dude, if I'm going to come over and talk to Ric Drasin, the Ric Drasin, I got to do my research. No, so tell me about that, because in Gary Hart's book, I mean, when people split off, and you went and you decided to go away from the NWA,
you're considered the opposition.
Yeah, so they would strong arm you. Well, not strong arm you, so to speak. They'd bring in loaded cards. You couldn't get off the ground.
Here's how they would
do
it.
So what? Okay, you tell me.
She was in with the athletic commission. They were in her pocket, and she paid them off. So you had to have all these forms filled out by Tuesday for a Friday night show. All your wrestlers, all their license numbers, everything to a T, and had to be in by a certain day. And she would make sure it would get stalled. And at the last minute, they wouldn't let you run the show because you forgot something. And then they'd come down and they'd count your receipts and they'd want their payoff, at the end of the night. And so when they got rid of the commission, I said, great. I ran a show in Bakersfield. I drew about 400 people, and they came down. They said, we want our taxes. I said, for what? They said, athletic commission. I said, no, you don't have any jurisdiction anymore. No, we're getting entertainment tax. I said, no, you're not. Get the hell out of here. And they sent me a bill for $75, and I have a stamp in my garage that says bullshit. Yeah. And I stamped it all over, and I mailed it back to them. I never heard from them again.
Really?
Nope.
So how long did you last in the promotion business then?
Oh, well, I ended up doing local shows here at school. At different schools, and it went really well. I mean, I drew one at Millikan Junior High, 500 people one night, and for a local show, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it is good.
I always involved the athletic department, and when the head coach would put him in the ring as a ref, even though he wasn't smart, and throw him out and rip his jacket and do stuff like that.
Right.
So the kids got they had fun with it, and it just got to be too costly after a while.
Do you keep in touch with what's going on the indie scene? Because Pro Wrestling Guerrilla comes through here and runs shows. Does anybody ever come by here and look at the people you have in your camp, or do you stay in touch with what's going on in the indie scene?
My students do. They go out and they work the shows. I don't really go to the shows anymore. Right. I went a couple of times, and it's like I'm bored to death. You know how that goes.
Yes. I
just don't want to be there. It's the same thing in the ring. You know, I lose respect for these guys that go in the ring and they don't even wear gear anymore. There's no boots, there's no tights, there's jeans and loafers, and I mean, come on, show the thing. And they don't even stay in shape.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. Yeah. You had a career from 65 to about 2001, call it 37 years. That's a long-ass run. Yeah. Okay, so then finally, what was the writing on the wall or the epiphany? God dang, you talk about a good-ass word on a Sunday.
That's a good word.
It's Saturday.
Do you know what it means? Do you know what it means?
No, but it sounded good.
It sounds good. Yeah.
So what was the big idea about, hey, Rick, looking yourself in the mirror, good-looking dude, it's time to hang it up?
I thought maybe I had reached a point in my life where I was so good-looking that I needed to share my looks with something else in this world, and wrestling wasn't it. So I wanted to open bigger doors. I had an accident in 2001, and I tore my quad. I wrestled a guy in Orange County, and he fell on me, and when he did, my heel hit my butt, and my quad snapped off. You visualize that?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't think I did that. I thought I dislocated my knee, so I said to him, I grabbed my leg and pulled it. Maybe it popped back in a little bit.
Jeez.
And he had a baseball bat, and he kept hitting it, so I kept selling it. So I fell out of the ring, and I went to stand up, and I couldn't. This is when your leg just goes any which way it wants, you know?
Yeah.
It's just not going to stay underneath you. And so I rolled back in, and he came at me, and I rolled him up for a count of 3. And then I went back to the dressing room with the ref, and I said, God, there's a divot here. Maybe I just kind of, I don't know what I did, but I duct taped it.
Boy,
yeah. Thanks
this is Pro Wrestling 101.
Duct tape and
Stone Age.
And super glue.
Yeah.
And I walked around and signed some autographs and went home. I stopped and got some ice. I came home and I said, that is something really weird. I called my doctor. He said, I don't know. He says, if it's a partial tear, I can't sew it. It's like sewing Jell-O. Yeah. It's a complete tear. I can put it back together. I was stubborn. I went back to the gym and I trained for 3 or 4 days this leg, and I'm pumping it, and it's on Thanksgiving, and I go out to the garage to get something. I fell over. My ring was there, and I snapped this one off, and I couldn't stand up. My son came out and he picked me up, and he says, I said, what's wrong? I said, I tore both quads. I'm sure they're both. I go to the doctor. I stiff-leg it across the room like this. He says, oh, you're walking. He sets me down. He says, now bring your legs up. And I couldn't. And he says, you need surgery Wednesday, Friday, or you'll never walk again. And that was when I said, no more. I'm done.
All right, so what's your deal with pain? Because I always consider myself to have a high threshold from pain and everything I did from football and going through my career in wrestling. And I'm not blowing smoke up my ass. It's just the way it was. As in, a lot of the guys have been some of the toughest guys I've ever seen in the business. You're working in your garage, I guess, or your shop. You're running a skill saw, and you sawed off
3 fingers.
3 fingers, and you got 2 of them reattached. They couldn't save the little finger on your right side.
I do have it in a jar in the other room.
Got it in a jar with some alcohol. I got to see it before I leave.
Okay.
Maybe I'll sign it for you.
Okay.
My point is, you go to the hospital, get your fingers attached. Jesus, I think it was next day.
I was in the gym the next day.
Yeah, with a towel wrapped around your hand, lifting weights.
The thing is that
you're either really stupid or real tough. And in talking to you, I think you're really smart. So what's the story?
I'm not stupid by any means. I'm a very
work with me.
I'm a college graduate. I don't know. I have a very high tolerance for pain.
Yeah.
And when I cut them off and I went to the hospital, my son followed me over and they sewed these on. The doctor says, I can't do anything with this. And he says, I'll sew it back, all this together. And I said, okay, just give me something to numb it. And he said, I got to put you out. I said, no, I don't want to go out. 2.5 hours on. I said, are you done? Are you done? He says, if you're not going to let me do this, I'm going to put you out. So I had to spend the night in the hospital with the IV for infection. And they had 2 long rods going in these fingers to hold them together. And the funny story is that I was married at the time, and I asked my wife to bring me down my clothes, my gym clothes, so I could leave the next day. And she bought me a little suitcase. I get up at 6 o'clock and want to come home, and I call, and she says, you're not going. You got to talk to the doctor. I said, I'm over 21. I'm leaving the hospital. I do not want to be in here. So I try the clothes on. The pants are skin tight, and I thought they blew me up with sodium. They were a size small. They were the wrong pants. They were hers. So I came home. I talked to my son. We went to eat. The very next day, we went to the gym, and I worked out. I found ways to use straps so I could train.
Right.
And it wasn't really hurting me at all. And they thought I was going to lose these fingers totally. But 6 weeks later, the pins came out, and everything healed up, and it was fine. I can't bend them like I used to.
Right.
But and I can't count to 10.
You can get 9.5, though.
I get 9.5. I get 10% off for a manicure.
Yeah.
And as I was saying here, if I go to scary movies,
I
can't hide my eyes. So, I mean, I've got little things I can't do, but it never really hurt me. And even when I tore my quads, it wasn't really that painful. I didn't take pain pills. I used ice. But doing the knee replacement kind of scares me because everybody says, "Oh, it's the worst pain ever," but maybe not for you.
Yeah, my thought when I got my neck fused up, and they said, when they take the bone off the iliac crest, that's going to be the thing that bothers you the most. It didn't bother me a bit. Neither did the neck surgery in and of itself.
Yeah.
But because the doctor recommended I take my pain pills, I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I didn't. We talked about this too.
Yeah, go ahead.
They constipate you.
No, no. Not me. But I was living in South Texas. It was the home of great Tex-Mex food. You can't get constipated eating Mexican food in Vicodin. It worked for me. That was my system.
I had a problem with my neck like that. Just on my birthday in July, as she knows, I couldn't turn my head at all. It's something swelled up all the way around. It ended up being a sinus infection. But I couldn't turn to the left. And so, and this is not really funny, but it's kind of funny. I had to make all right turns going over to her house. It took me twice as long, but I realized that 3 rights make a left. When you think about it, if you're going right, and right, you're going left again.
Yeah.
So I still got there. This is stand-up.
If this was the Unleashed show, I'd have somewhere to go with this.
This is stand-up comedy.
Yeah, this is my family-friendly show. Before I let you go, I got to ask you a little bit about your music career.
Yes, sir.
Your band was called the Epics. After talking with you for 60 minutes, I know why you guys were called the Epics, because you thought of the name.
I did.
I know.
How'd you know that?
Just an hour spending time with you. What were your musical influences? Are you a good guitar player?
I think I'm a really good guitar player.
What do you like to play?
Nothing that you heard in Texas. I like Chet Atkins. I like Les Paul.
What a great picker.
I love that stuff. That's what I learned. I used to listen and play. I never learned how to read music.
Right.
I taught myself how to play, then I began teaching guitar, and I had myself a reel-to-reel recorder, but I would record all my background chords on, and I'd play along with it. Then I ended up getting a guitar player from high school, and I got another guy and a drummer, and we formed a band. And then we formed another band, and we got some singers. So I started singing with them, and pretty soon I'm playing all this Chet Atkins stuff, and I reversed it into rock and roll.
Right.
So I sound more like Chris Isaacs.
Right.
And it worked for me. And I did this for many, many years, and then when I got out of the band, they went to heavy metal and acid rock. I said, no, that's when I was wrestling. Kept my guitar. I still have my 57 Jazzmaster I bought brand new for $400 in 57. It's worth about $20,000 now.
Right.
And then I started using GarageBand. I could do a drum track and do all my tracks, and I started incorporating my music and producing my own stuff. Taught both my boys how to play. My son produces now for radio and television, steady.
Do you still play regularly?
Yeah, I just played at my birthday party, or a year ago, right? The birthday party, July. Yeah, I still played in July. I brought my guitar.
So what do you play these days? Just for fun?
Just for my own enjoyment.
Yeah.
Man, what am I going to go with?
I know, but I mean, like what would you just a song? Anything that would be in the mainstream, or any Stevie Ray stuff?
I can do Stevie Ray stuff. I play a lot of blues. I can play a lot of blues. I listen to a lot of stuff on Spotify, and I break my guitar out and I plug it in. I just buy myself a new amp, and I'll play along with what I hear on there. And then I'll just lay down a track or two and start playing with it, just to keep in the mix of it.
Okay, you said Chet Atkins and you said Les Paul. Give me a couple more guitar influences, or someone that you looked up to in regards to playing.
Those were the two that I really looked up to, and then there's Larry Carlton, who I really like, and there's some newer guys that John Mayer is an excellent guitarist. Oh my God, there's so many out there. Roy Clark back in the day.
He's a good picker.
Very good picker. There's so many of them.
Glenn Campbell was actually
a good
guitar guy.
And Jerry Reed.
Yeah.
And they do Jerry's Breakdown. Have you ever heard Jerry's Breakdown? Him and Chet Atkins? Oh, my God. That's crazy. And I learned it, and I can't do it now, but it took a lot of time.
See, my dad, well, he's actually my stepdad. He was much like you. He taught himself how to play guitar at about 7 or 8 years of age, and that's just how he learned. He turned out to be a great lead guitarist in a country western band my entire life. On weekends, he sold insurance, and on the weekends he'd play his jobs, Arnold Park and the Mustangs or Ken Williams and the Southern Airs.
Yeah.
And we'd go to the gigs, and so I got the big idea, man, I've always wanted to be a musician. My entire life I wanted to be a rock star. And so I was going to get my dad to teach me how to play electric guitar. But I wasn't his biological son. I didn't inherit his musical traits.
Yeah.
I ain't worth a damn. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really apply myself.
Yeah.
So I figured, you know what? You can't play the sixth string, so you can't be the lead guitarist. And my goal was to be a lead vocalist. But since I can't sing, I was right out of the ballpark.
There's
from the
no
beginning.
music for you.
So bass. My dad was going to teach me how to play bass. So I went down and bought a bass guitar. He had his amp right there, plugged into it. And 4 strings, it's going to be easy, right? Well, it wasn't. I didn't apply myself. And then that killed my dreams of being a rock and roll band on that front. And my parents knew that the drum kit was too loud, so I had to go to professional wrestling. It turned out there was a happy ending to the story because I did okay. Hey, let's talk about, before we wrap up, on Twitter, you're at Ric Drasin, RICDRASIN. Your YouTube channel.
My YouTube channel is YouTube/Ric Drasin, or you can go to rickscorner.com, which takes you to YouTube as well.
Right.
and then I have Ric Drasin live. And but right now, Rick's Corner is just going crazy for bodybuilding and nutrition and fitness and some wrestling as well.
I've enjoyed a lot of conversations with Rich Piana. He seems like a very unique guy.
Really good guy.
Very smart guy.
Yeah, he is. He's very smart.
Quite a character, though.
He's very unique. He's OCD on everything you can think about.
Yeah.
Everything to the max. But it's I've learned a lot over 70 years, and I share my knowledge.
Yeah.
And my brain is still pretty good because I use the coconut oil every morning, and my brain is like really increasing in content.
So we're going to wrap.
Well, don't forget you can find my Wikipedia of steroids on my website, ricdrasin.com, and bodybuilding for dumbbells as well. It'll take you back to the old days of what we did back then, and it tells you what steroids do and how to take them. I'm not telling you to take them, but you got to have knowledge before you stick something in your body.
Oh, that's why I just wanted to thumb through it, man. I've been around the horn a few times. I bought the ebook. I scanned through it real quick. I'm probably going to do some reading.
I just actually used your $14.95 for lunch.
Dude, hey, man, it's worth the $14.95. Like, again, I'm not sitting there plugging a steroid book either, but if you're interested, you need to educate yourself. And this was a very streamlined platform that cut through all the chase and gave, basic, in-depth information that, wasn't crazy scientific that no one could understand.
Exactly.
That's what I enjoyed about it.
Right.
So anyway, that being said, I'm sitting there with Ric Drasin. We're about to go out to his garage to do a
it's my studio.
We're going to excuse me. Jesus Christ. We're on a Steve Austin show, and he's going to correct me. I'm going out to Rick's studio. We're going to do a Rick's Corner. There's a 16x16 ring in the backyard. We might have to go about 15, 20-minute Broadway. What do you say?
I think the best thing we could do is lock it up and take it home.
That's when you listen to a veteran who knows what's going on. I agree with that.
And that lockup better be loose, brother.
I can work with that, Rick. Thank you very much. And plus, I want to come back because, dude, you've had
I'm sorry, there's only one shot with me.
Yeah, okay, you're coming to my place. You've had an incredible life, and we just stuck basically to a little bit of the wrestling part. Yeah. I want to come back and talk to you about the bodybuilding scene.
Sure.
More in depth with some more research on my part.
Right.
And I'd also like you to bust out the sixth string and play a guitar or two.
I'd also like to talk in depth about my sex change at 30.
Well, yeah, and because, man, I thought she was a good-looking chick back in the day.
I was.
But as a guy, you got this macho swagger about you that's just kind of uncanny. It worked for you.
But let me ask you one question before you close.
Yes.
You're closing now, right?
Yes, we are.
People ever stop you and say, "Excuse me, sir, but are you Ric Drasin?"
All the time. Yeah. I can't win for losing.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Rick. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for joining us for another classic episode of The Steve Austin Show. Please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and tell your friends. For more Steve Austin Show, go to PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. And welcome to T-Pain's Nappy Boy Radio Podcast. The most fun you'll ever listen to while you're folding your clothes. Now let's get this straight. This is not your average podcast. T-Pain's Nappy Boy Radio is super fun, super crazy. It's pretty much an in-your-face conversation. That's the good thing about us. We don't do interviews. We do conversations. All of my guests, all of my co-hosts, we chill. We drink, we play games. We have the song of the week. We have the creative curse word of the week. As long as you're having fun as our guest. Speaking of guests, each week I'm going to go through my whole contact list and dive head first into the world of music, gaming, exotic cars, tech, strippers probably, doctors probably strippers that are only stripping so they can pay for tuition to become a doctor. You never know. My wife is a certified bartender. She'll make you a drink while you're here. We'll get you drunk and make you play VR after. It's a lot going on. But that's what it's all about over here at T-Pain's Nappy Boy Radio Podcast. See you soon, baby!
What's better than courtside seats? Free sports on Pluto TV. Hey, sports fans, get all your sports free on Pluto TV. Pluto TV is your home for sports. Watch 24/7 channels of MLB, MLS, MMA, sports news and analysis, plus documentaries, TV shows, and movies, all for free. No signups, no fees, no contracts, ever. Download the free Pluto TV app on any device.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy, Big Brother Jake, a.k.a. Jake Warner, my government name. Check it out. I host a show called the Big Brother Jake Podcast, and I've taken my talents to the biggest and baddest platform on the planet. That's right, baby, PodcastOne. My show is unique as I talk about everything. Life, sports, entertainment, being a single dad juggling several jobs. I'm a hot mess, but it's damn entertaining. Subscribe and review now on Apple Podcasts and listen on PodcastOne or wherever you get your podcasts.